Welcome to Inside City Hall, Canine Hero in Madison, the podcast where we dive into the world of law enforcement, the incredible work behind the scenes, and the unsung heroes that make our communities safer. Joining us today is Detective Ted Thiele and his partner behind the badge, Bear. Together they work on the front lines of the Internet Crimes Against Children Taskforce, a unit dedicated to protecting the most vulnerable members of our society. Join us for the tales of the force. Did you see what I did there? Let's get started. I'm Samantha Magnuson.
And I'm Deidre Briscoe, and we are the communications team for the city of Madison.
All right. Okay, so off the bat for our audio listeners who can't see Bear, he is our cutest officer on the force, a highly trained canine serving our community. Detective, can you tell us how Bear was first selected for and trained for such a specific role, and what makes Bear's training different from other canine officers?
Absolutely. I just want to say thank you for having us both on this morning, and I look forward to telling all about Bear and that process. His journey here to the city of Madison and with our department has been fundamentally very different than any other canine that our department, our city has ever had. That process was made possible thanks to an incredible donor and an incredible organization, OUR Rescue, which funded the purchase and process training for Bear. He was originally bred in Ohio, through Toledo, Ohio, through the Ability Center as a disability assistance dog. He went through that program and over time had a career change and became a part of where we were able to acquire Bear through Jordan Detection Canine. The Jordan Detection Canine is based in Indianapolis, Indiana, and they are focused on training special dogs like Bear, who's an electronic storage detection canine, as well as accelerant canines that search for arson evidence. So Bear is very different in his training, in his background. Part of his background was also for therapy and comfort assistance, and part of that with disability, being there for his owner that he is attached to, but also in his care in everyone that he comes across. So that training with Jordan Detection Canine is who we were connected with through OUR Rescue, and we went through a process where they actually did a study with me and questions about how my home life, the way I work, what it's like here in the city of Madison. And it's a very strict process to pair the right dog with the right handler. And that part of us working together and pairing the right dog, dogs like people, we have different personalities, different strengths. And so making sure that that was a perfect fit was a big process through interviews and questions and home study ahead of time with me and even my family. And so once we were able to travel up to get to meet Bear in Indianapolis, Indiana, then the training began. A lot of Bear's training was actually for the electronic storage detection was before I met Bear. So a lot of his training and certification process, he was already working on with another group of canines ahead of time. So a lot of the training at that point was for me to learn Bear and to learn how that training works.
I would say that the pairing, they were definitely spot on with that. You guys definitely seem attached at the hip, and it's always a great chemistry when I see you guys together. I wanted to ask, internet crimes involving children can be some of the most difficult and sensitive cases to work on. How does Bear's involvement help you and your team with these types of investigations? And does he have any special ways of signaling when he's detected something important?
Absolutely. So these searches and the cases that are involved with these searches are incredibly difficult, or in a lot of different ways. Obviously, there's danger involved, but even the searching part for evidence, in which Bear is so crucial, uh, saying that we're looking for a needle in a haystack would be a step up by far in the searches that Bear is a part of, and that we need his help, and how difficult it was before having a special canine like Bear. A lot of these places where we're going are homes. Oftentimes they are in awful conditions. It may be a boarding situation, or even in a clean space, which is very rare for a lot of the searches that we go on. trying to find a piece of evidence that may be as small as your pinky, the fingernail on your pinky, like a micro SD card, in the midst of huge boxes and things scattered everywhere, or even hidden up under a piece of furniture, or even behind a wall or under a floorboard. For a human, even a team of well trained and experienced professionals, is incredibly difficult. And we also go into these searches with our own mindset, where we've found evidence before, where we think people may hide things. Bear doesn't work that way. He is trained to go off of that detection. So that special chemical TPPO, which he's trained to alert on, he follows his nose. We know dogs look at the world completely different than we. They work so much through their nose. They experience the world around them so much through their nose. And that's what Bear follows. And that's what I've learned, to follow him and his nose. So he helps us to not just look at things in a different way, but to even just check an area that we may not think to check. Unfortunately, in these difficult cases, flash drives don't always just look like a flash drive. It could look like a screwdriver and be inside of that. A lot of these flash drives are made to look like other objects, and we may not to think, I need to check this toolbox full of tools and see if that tool is actually a flash drive, or if this other object, or check behind every. But Bear is very meticulous. We have a special way of searching so that we don't miss anything. Fortunately, in these cases, it's so critical that every piece of evidence may be a trail to a child that needs to be rescued, may be a child that's currently used. We can't miss a piece of that. We can't risk saying, well, we got most of it, or we got some of it. The Bear helps us every time. And sometimes it's just to secure that knowledge that, okay, we've checked everywhere. We've done everything we could possibly do in this case to make sure that we've done our job and to help bring justice, and to make sure that those involved see the consequences.
Is his alerting just as simple as a
It is passive. It's not a bark. So what he does is he'll sit or lay down, and he is very good about body language. I've had to learn his body language. He stares at me. His As he starts to get into the areas, he gets close. I've learned a lot about odor and the way that odor works with canines, but he actually has to pinpoint it. So if we think about most rooms and areas, especially where he searches, there's all kinds of electronics. There's all kinds of that same scent. And so it's very different than explosive detection or drug detection, where it's a very strong smell. This is a very minute smell, and it may be mixed among a lot of other things. And so he'll actually put his nose to the drawer or the table or wherever that spot is. So he'll stop, sit, he'll stare at it. He'll look at me like, do you see or smell, I guess for him. Do you smell what
Yeah.
I'm smelling? And I, of course, have to trust him. And as we've built our trust together and training, and he may even put his paw on a certain area. And sometimes we have to work through that. Sometimes, as I'm trying to figure out exactly where he's trying to pinpoint me to in a giant chest of drawers, or in the midst of all these boxes, of where he's finding it. And so we'll kind of work through that. I have certain commands to tell him. They call it detailing. Gets specific spots, so he's right on it, nose on it, looking at me like this is where it's at. So,
Guys have such a good bond. I mean, it's incredible work that you two do together, but he's just such a good boy. I mean, for those who are just listening, he is laid up being a perfect gentleman and just a sleepy boy right now, but he knows that he's ready for work at any time. But tell us about your bond together. He lives with you and your family. How does that relationship impact the work, and especially when it comes to his instincts on scene?
it's incredibly important with any canine. Having that bond and that trust is very, very important. It's crucial to the work that we do every day. But especially for Bear, because of the types of areas and difficult scenes that we work, sometimes just having that trust to convince a dog to go in a small space where they feel closed in, or to squeeze under space. Bear's still young, he's 2 years old. And so as he experiences the world, but just him having to trust that, okay, I don't feel comfortable here, but I know what I'm supposed to do. In our training early on, that was something that we had to learn together, searching like a bathroom space where he feels uncertain or jumping in a bathtub when didn't feel natural to him. So he kind of had to trust me that, like, okay, he's asking me to do this. Like, I'm going to be okay. I'm safe. Or objects that may fall down when he's jumping in a space. But also because of the different areas that he's searching that we can't necessarily see, I always have to trust his nose, his body language, that his tail will actually change directions as he's getting into closer into the odor and kind of pinpointing exactly where something is. And so I've learned to watch his body language, he watches mine, and trying to figure out where exactly he's supposed to be searching. But having that understanding for each other, because unfortunately we can't use words to talk to each other, so we have to communicate continuously throughout any kind, especially in a scene.
Right.
As someone working on the Internet Crimes Against Children's Task Force, you see the darker side of the internet, and that can be incredibly daunting. How do you and Bear stay motivated and focused when dealing with such difficult and emotional cases?
It's incredibly difficult. Probably one of the hardest parts of my job that I've ever had to deal with. Being exposed to images and material uh, carries on with it its own type of trauma. And I'm thankful that in society, we're starting to make strides in being okay to talk about mental health. And from what I've seen in my career, it hasn't always been okay that we're expected, okay, it's part of the job, or you have to be tough and deal with these kind of things. But the reality is, it does carry effect with even the investigators that have to be exposed and work on a daily basis. And I have a lot of respect for all the investigators, that professionals that I work with. Some incredible organizations across the U.S. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is a crucial part that help with dealing with a lot of those images. But for me personally, I wouldn't be able to continue to do the work and stay motivated if it weren't for my incredible support at home. My wife is the best possible support system I could ever ask for. She was a nurse during COVID in the ER and still serves as a nurse practitioner, and still has this incredible ability to stay positive and see the best in people. So having a mental break time for Bear and I and our family, we have to get away. We have to see, we love to travel as a family together. And Bear being part of our family and my whole family being invested in that makes that possible. There's no more motivation for me and for a lot of professionals when you think of each one of these as a child that needs rescue. Each one of these is a child that needs help, that we are blessed, and I'm humbled to be able to be a part of the change. Something terrible is happening. I'm lucky enough to be the one to say, let's do something about that. And Bear is motivated every day. We have searches in the middle of the night, early in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, and he goes from nap mode and cool to, I give him the command, he's jumping up and he's like, let's do this. He's excited. He looks forward to the reward, but also he's a loving, loyal dog that just loves to please. So he loves the attention and being around the investigators, and even if he can be there for someone on scene, use that comfort therapy part of his training and background. He's all for it every time.
And
Love
that
that.
leads me to my next question too, because he has such technical skills, but he's also trained to be that therapeutic role on scene. So tell us how he really bridges the gap, that emotional gap for victims, and how he provides in that way.
Absolutely. There's been some incredible studies with animal assisted therapy. I think we're just now beginning to learn so much about dogs, of course, about their amazing abilities to smell and sort odors and find things like electronics, but also just their ability. Yes, he is super cute, fun to pet, but there's also something else going on a chemical level. And unfortunately, a lot of these cases, there's children in trauma, human trafficking cases, adults that have been through an incredible amount. And on scene, having police and maybe even a SWAT team, a lot going on, it's an additional level there's a lot of anxiety, stress, and trauma, just to say the least. And to be able to have almost like a pause for a child to have time to connect with him and lower that stress level and to just see him. And he is the first to be happy to lean against someone, to lick them in the face, just provide that comfort. He loves it, and it is an incredible bridge when we have to make difficult next steps, whether that's in child advocacy center or for an adult that may be involved. So he helps to kind of bring things back down and even on a chemical level to just lower that stress, bring things to a more safe.
It's incredible. I mean, I can't tout it enough. I think it's such a vital asset that you two bring to the city of Madison and regionally as well. So, I think that just takes us to the community corner, talking about all the updates going on in Madison. But again, thank you so much, because this is such a good story for something that can be so dark. I think that Bear is the light in the room, and you're right there with him as his teammate. So thank you. All right, Deidre.
Welcome to the Community Corner. Let's jump into what's happening in our city. The city of Madison is looking for someone to fill a vacant seat on our Board of Education with their term commencing in June. The person would stay in this seat for a 5-year term. Applications are open now through March 24th on our website. Navigate to boards and committees page, click and apply and designate Board of Education on the application. Employee Appreciation Day is March 7th. Thank you to the approximate 452 full-time, part-time, and temporary employees that make up the city of Madison. It's Women's History Month, and of that 452, approximately 127 women work for the city of Madison. Thank you to our women. And I have some fun facts for you as well. Our city, the first female mayor elected was, Tej Cutterback was the first female mayor of the city of Madison. Bibi Ajin was the first commissioner elected to public safety here in the city of Madison, and I thought those were some fun history facts for the city. Speaking of employment, HR is holding a hiring fair on Good Friday, which is April 18th. That will be held at the Madison Community Center at 1329 Browns Ferry Road from 1 to 4. We are looking for lifeguards and rec aides. People interested are advised to bring their ID and resume to this on-the-spot hiring opportunity. The municipal election is August 26th. Make sure you know your new council district, as district lines have changed. You can find that information on the city website by hovering under the government tab. And that is all I have for today.
Well, thank you both for being here. Is there anything else before we wrap this episode that you would want to share with the community about the work you do, the work Bear does, any other little tidbits?
Of course, thank you again so much for having us on this morning. It is very difficult. I think it's important for everyone to realize and know often we see these cases every week, news, and often, but there is something that everybody can play a part in assisting with these difficult cases, whether that's as a parent, as a community member. I think there's still some change that happens so we can better protect our children, but sometimes it's just as much as supporting those working.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of Inside City Hall. Huge thank you to everyone here today. Bear is just an inspiration. It's such an eye-opening look into the vital work that's being done to protect children from internet predators. And y'all's partnership is a reminder of the compassion and dedication that drives law enforcement every day.
Can we get Bear up to the table at all? I think he does something here.
We can convince him.
We'll try. Sure. He's napping. Hey, buddy. Oh, stretch it out. Look at this handsome boy.
Thank you for waking up.
Pause.
Oh. Let's see.
Here. Oh.
Almost. He's thinking about it.
It's slippery up there. I don't know about that, Dad.
Oh.
He's great. I'm sure the camera's gotten his face, and he's so precious.
Oh,
he's
Samantha.
so precious.
You're so lucky to be sitting exactly next to him.
I got the good seat. I got the good seat. All right. Well, thank y'all again. And, if anyone in the community has questions, I'm sure that our police department can answer some questions, and Detective Ted here can help with all of that.
I want to be a part of the My Life with Bear book writing process. Shameless plug here. We can write a book. This is happening. I heard a lot of good gems here.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes, feel free to reach out to us at communications@madisonal.gov. And don't forget to follow the City of Madison's social media pages for the latest city updates. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.